Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. Those of you who are interested in whether I'm going to be doing a review on the ZTZ96, the new top tier Chinese MBT, I will be. I have unlocked it, but I actually haven't managed to get enough modifications on it yet to feel comfortable doing a review. So, I have decided that for today's video I'm going to be showing you some footage of the vehicle that I used to gain the SL to purchase the ZTZ96. And yes, that is how I will be pronouncing Z, for those of you who are unaware. On with the video. So, today we are doing a video on the PaKwagon, the SDKFZ 234/4, I believe the designation is. Essentially, this is just a Puma with the puny 50mm gun removed, and a PaK-40 75mm cannon, anti-tank cannon in fact, in its place. A very long time ago, I was actually in one of, what's his name, Oxy's videos. Oxygen Veith, he's one of Slick B's friends who started his own YouTube channel, for those of you who aren't aware, although I'm sure the majority of you are. I was asked by him via Discord to go on to one of his videos and to talk about the best tanks. I think it was top 20 tanks in War Thunder, the video was called. And I was given a number of vehicles to select to do this, and I decided to do the PaKwagon. Now, this vehicle is probably not as rare as it once was. It was an event vehicle a few years ago now, and ever since the market has come to be, I imagine there are a few more of these rolling around at 2.3, 3.0 than there were before. That's a point actually now that I think about it. This vehicle has a battle rating of 3.0, whereas the normal Puma with the 50mm gun has a battle rating of 2.7. In my opinion, the 0.3 BR up from the Puma is probably well worth it. This vehicle in all but name is almost a light tank, minus the spotting mechanic anyway. If this thing had the spotting mechanic, I would be quite comfortable in saying that this is possibly the best light tank at its tier in War Thunder. But it certainly is one of the best tank destroyers at its tier in War Thunder. The one thing that lets you down, however, is your mobility. While the mobility is very good, generally speaking anyway, the problems that you have are in sand and snow and thick mud, due to having wheels as opposed to tracks. These are conditions that would usually slow down most tanks, but wheels have far less grip than tank tracks do, so it's more the problem for you than it would be for anybody else in a armoured vehicle. Speaking of mobility, the speed that this vehicle can reach tends to vary depending on what you're driving on, surface-wise. For dirt, as you'd usually expect in most of the maps in the game, you'd probably be looking around 65 kilometers an hour, over smooth ground obviously. Tarmac or asphalt, whatever you want to call it, you're looking at around mid-70s to the 80s, if not a little bit higher, depending on driver skill and other elements like that. It seems that, which I suppose is not supposed to be surprising to anybody, but it seems as though on maps where there is sand or snow, your best bet is to stick to tracks, like I'm doing here. While there is still snow on the tracks, you tend to be a lot more mobile driving on the tracks than you would driving in the snow. I know it sounds like common sense, and in a way it is common sense, but these are things that, generally speaking, will, benefit you to know about, and are not always immediately obvious. Another problem that this vehicle does have is climbing up high inclines. It can do it, surprisingly well in fact, for an armoured car, but it does have its problems here and there. The battle rating of this vehicle makes it a little bit complicated to make lineups for, although this is something that, in practice, can be done relatively easily. I tend to go with it used to be the Panzer II. It's a Panzer II with a 50mm gun on it. Again, that is actually quite a rare vehicle now as well, because it used to be part of a pack that you could buy, which included, if I remember correctly, the tank as well as I think it was the BF 109 G2, but it wasn't the tropical version, and it was, what country was it for? I can't remember now. Those of you who have been around in the game for a while will know what I'm referring to, but at the moment, I think it was Hungarian, might have been Hungarian, but anyway, for the life of me, the country that the 109 is from just evades me. Looking at the footage there for a minute, there was a horrible, horrible lack of awareness from the M24 Chaffee and the M22 Locust. Although, in hindsight, when you're playing at this lower battle rating, it's kind of to be expected. There is a slim but possible chance that a lot of the people playing at this battle rating may have only just downloaded the game and have only been playing for a couple of days at the most, so it's to be expected. The ammunition that you get for the 75mm gun is nothing short of fantastic. There are very few tanks at this battle rank that will give you problems with your standard shell, and just in case you do happen to run into anything that may give you problems, I tend to carry some APCR with me as well. Although, of the 5 or 6 rounds I carry in this vehicle, I've yet to fire any of them for the entire time I've been using it, because I just haven't needed them. If you play this vehicle correctly, you will end up on the sides and or rear of enemy tanks. However, you are quite capable of knocking virtually anything you're likely to face out from the front. KV-1s and KV-1Bs, or KV-1Es as well to a certain extent, are vehicles that you will face fairly regularly around this battle rating. I've never had any problems with KV-1s, so long as you're firing at them at a flat angle if at all possible. Front on, aim for the driver's port, aim for the sides of the turret, but so long as you hit them flush, you don't have glancing blows or anything like that, you should go through without a problem. If I remember correctly, the penetration of this shell at 100 meters is something like 132 millimeters of penetration, around that area. Which means you could theoretically up tier this vehicle to the point that it's fighting Tigers. Obviously, you won't be fighting Tigers because they'll be on your team, but anything with frontal armor of 100mm, you'll be able to pen easily. Hence why I said the KV-1s shouldn't give you too much of a problem. KV-2s as well shouldn't give you too much of a problem either, because you can just pen them through the driver's port in the hull. Although I've not run into any KV-2s in this vehicle myself. Although, come to think of it, KV-2s are pretty slim to see most of the time these days anyway. I average kill-wise in this vehicle around 5-6 kills a match, although this vehicle is capable of much more than that, which is why I'm showing you this video, because I got, I think, 12 kills in one match. And you're probably wondering at this stage, why did I choose this vehicle to grind SL in? Why didn't I just grind an aircraft? You have a good point. Generally speaking, it's a lot easier to grind SL in aircraft, especially in arcade, than it is to grind SL in ground forces, regardless of the battle rating. However, this vehicle is my old reliable when it comes to grinding SL. Ever since I've had it, even though I've got the XM1, and that vehicle is more than capable of grinding USL and doing so at a fairly predictable rate due to the low repair costs, unless they've mended that. They may have fixed it by now, but to be honest, without checking, I couldn't tell you. The XM1's repair cost used to be around 2,500 lions, which is nothing. Although, because of the lack of armour on that vehicle and the tanks that you're fighting, I found that all I would do every match is rush into a capture zone. Of course, if you're in a battle map, you're kind of screwed from the get-go. But if you're in a multi-cap map, multi-cap game, you rush as many capture zones as you can, cap them, go to the next one, and you can just keep doing that until you die. I would normally not take out any other vehicle other than the XM1, because that way I'm not losing money in repair costs. And yeah, it's not very pleasant for your teammates either, I fully admit that. This is far more fun and far more useful to your team, because you're actually becoming an asset to them. Anyway guys, coming to the end of the video now, so I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you very much for watching. If you like it, please like. If you don't, you know, dislike button's right there next to it if you feel like pressing that instead. Thank you very much for watching. If you're new to the channel, please feel free to subscribe. And hopefully I'll be back with a ZTZ96 review video sometime in the future. So I'll see you guys later. Cheers.